Okay, hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson, and I am your host tonight. And we're here with Montez, and we're going to be talking about our continuing saga with Montez and talking about what we need to do and what happens in his life in order to kind of get on a path where he can control his own destiny with new information and new knowledge. I think the biggest problem with people in life is that they don't take in new knowledge very well. Well, Montez has proven us wrong. He's taking some of the techniques and knowledge base that he's learning, and he's actually using that knowledge in a way that is productive for him in his life with his wife, of course. And we're looking for some reconciliation in a lot of ways with his wife, Bobby. We'll be talking to her on Sundays and talking to, of course, Montez on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Welcome to our broadcast tonight, our live streaming. Please be interactive in the chat module. This is probably the only organization in the world that deals with abuse. We champion over 21 different abuses, and we don't just counsel you in the traditional sense. We actually do our level best to teach you some life lessons. It's easier to be taught life lessons than it is to just sit back and listen to someone speak for an hour. Some of these lessons we need to learn over and over. Not anything in life that's worthy of having happens in a vacuum or happens all at once. So we'll look at, over a long period of time or many sessions, the opportunity to share new knowledge and understandings with our patients. We'll be adding patients in the future and different norm therapists in the future and different, of course, patients. And we'll be looking more and more at a variety of subject matter, from marital situations to being bullied, substance abuse, PTSD, and the like. Okay, and now I'm going to ask Montez to come in. Hey, Montez, how are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's always good to see you. You're one of these human beings that I enjoy to sit down with, especially you and your wife. One of these sessions we're going to do live, where you're going to participate live with your wife and I, so we can see the fireworks now, just see you guys, how you're getting along. But
All right.
what people don't understand about life sometimes is that there's no such thing as a perfect anything on the planet, unless of course it's computer aided or generated. There's nothing perfect on the planet. And but we all strive to be perfect, especially in our relationships. But our idea of perfection always has to do with how we perceive ourselves. We talked about this, but I want to elaborate just a little bit. In life, if you perceive yourself in any way whatsoever, you're going to always have a distorted view. You're going to always have a bias about yourself. You're going to always look at yourself differently, than who you really are, I should say. And that's normal. Like if you think that, man, I'm the best guy in the work today, I'm cleaning all the food, I'm doing all this stuff that I need to do to make my life better here at work, and people are watching me and they think I'm doing a great job, and oftentimes that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Because there's a paper called Dunning-Kruger, and if you read it, you'll quickly find out that how we evaluate ourselves in life, or how we try to judge ourselves, we're oftentimes very skewed. We're very wrong about that. That's why the opinions of others, which most of us can't take, most of us can't take the critique of others. Yeah, you said the other day, oh, I look great with my bald head, but your wife probably looking at you every now and then go, I love that bald head. But the next door neighbor go, oh, I hate it. You see, because oftentimes people with a different kind of view of you or critique will always be more exact than your own. Or if you think I'm the dumbest person in the room, man, no one respects me, no one likes me, no one's talking to me because I may not know the conversation or understand the vernacular or the words that are coming out of their mouths. When in fact they're looking at you going, wow, I wish this guy looks very interesting. I wish he'd say something so we can engage and have a conversation. But you're so poorly judging yourself, you oftentimes get it wrong more than not. And that's what relationships are about, taking the other person's word that they're accurate. Not when they're mean, not when they're too nice and just being too lovey and sweetheart and none of that. I'm talking about when they are at their normal within that content on a happiness index. Are they in a 10%? Are they in a 90%? Or are they right there in a sweet spot in the middle where you can communicate, you can make mistakes, you can be forgiven quickly. You don't have to be judged. You don't have to judge. You're in that I'm content with this person area. So our objective today is to explore where you are in that area in your relationship and talk about some of the stuff that we teach at Norm Therapy. And I want you to understand that people are commenting a lot. I'm looking at the comments here. Now, these comments, because it's live streamed, they may not make it to the actual YouTube. So if you're making comments now after the video out there to the audience, I say, after the video completes and uploads itself onto the system from live stream, it takes about 15, 20 minutes. Then go back and see if you can make a comment, click like and share at that point. For some reason, because we're going through Zoom to get to, for some reason, we're going through Zoom to get to YouTube, that there's a lag on the comments. So we want to see that participation. And thank you for all for joining today. Okay, so now we have Montez. Tell me something. Tell us how your day went. You said there were some ups and downs in the pre video time. You said there were some ups and downs. Tell us about it.
Well, I came in this morning after my shift. I didn't go to sleep. And these last couple of days, I haven't. I don't know what's on my brain, but I haven't. But I came in and I got to the hustle and bustle of helping my wife get herself together and get to where she's going. Warming cars up and making gas station trip. It's typical. And we were finally able, our EBT assistants had loaded, and it was time to, I said, okay, I'm gonna go in here, clean this refrigerator and clean these cabinets real good so I can organize some things. And I'm gonna go to the store, and I donate plasma when I'm on the side, when I'm, you know what I'm saying? I go donate that plasma. So I had that to do. I took my stepson with me, and we went in there, and when I got in there, the people almost blew my vein up, not knowing how to properly inject the needle this big. And so it wasn't a blow up or nothing. I was cool with it because I've been doing it for years, 6, 7 years. I get out, before I even get outside, my son tell me that the car is smoking. And I'm trying to figure out what that could be. But then I was smelling oil. So I saw, that's just oil burning. Turn the car off, let it cool down. I'll check it, reapply, whatever. I get outside, the battery dead, the whole car dead. I only brought one debit card with me, no cash. That was the debit card for the plasma money, and it was burning because I needed coolant. So I get in the store, get the coolant, get some oil, and my money's not popping up. So now, and I'm a person that like to be prepared when I go places. Whenever I get ready to do something, I got to be ready. And when I got in front of it, was like 12 people behind me, and they looked, and I said, let me go to the car and find some more money. I get outside, my balance still zero. The people ain't paid me. My car over there down. I don't have the oil, don't have the coolant. And then this girl just turned around. She said, sir, here you go. And I'm like, well, what's this? She said, well, we just covered it. You only needed $7 more. I said, no, I got it. I'm giving that back to you because I'm the man. I gotta, stand on my own 2 feet and stuff. And pride, and she helped me out. And then I had another man who helped me, gave me a jump. He had a nice big truck, and I got a 3.9 in my car. And so I needed that truck, and he gave me a little bit of game about the cars. And then I get down the street, my car go empty on the highway. almost. The lights on, so I'm gunning it. The police, I'm seeing the police on the opposite side, and I'm like, hold on, I can't do that because now we talking some trouble now, and I'm
Yeah.
scared I'm gonna have to stop the car and push it. I really don't. I'm not even supposed to be walking. I'm working off a half of an Achilles. Um, it just I wanted to give up so bad, man, because my only help, my only support, my only everything was at work. And if I didn't
Yeah.
figure it out, I wasn't gonna make it. And a person like me, I don't accept not figuring it out
Well,
because
tell us, how did you make it though? Did you run out of gas on the freeway? Did you go through
I
that pushing the car?
I was putted all the way around the corner, and when I
Okay.
because the freeway's right by my house, so I put it was chugging, and it's a Pontiac, so it got on where it needed to get to,
Oh
but
yeah.
then I was so thankful for that. I didn't get a chance to go grocery shopping like I wanted to do. You know, I like to have things prepared for my wife, and I like for her not to be able to have to do anything. And
Well,
if
see,
I
that's a good way to put it today. I like that.
I mean, I just and it bothers me if I don't. It bothers me if a rug is out of place when she come in. It that bothers me. If there's
It should. It should bother you, but not to such the extent that you feel bad about it if it's not there. It's just you may feel like I need to catch up, but not bad. Sometimes we invoke the bad things
yeah,
ourselves. We have,
yeah,
like I just said at the beginning, Durner Kruger, you actually have the expectation or a view of criticizing yourself. Like I'm not
yeah,
ready, I don't like it, and, so you make a bigger deal out of it than it really was. And I think that what's needed there is for you to recognize that, number one, but number two, that your wife of her own volition or her own voluntariness, she has to just appreciate that you did these things. Were you appreciated by your wife for all the stuff you did today?
Well, Michael, I'm gonna tell you, man, you've struck a serious pose, man, in our household.
Hey,
You've not just got here. It's probably been about a month, 45 something to that effect. And I'm noticing things about her. I'm noticing I got a big thing about appreciation, man. I try to show it and I want it back. And if I don't get it back, man, I feel like you don't care.
the word
So
is reciprocal. You need
yeah, right.
reciprocity in your relationship. So, that's how gratitude is born in a relationship by through appreciation. It has been scientifically proven that you get more out of doing the good things for your wife than she gets out of it because that's the better nature of you.
Yeah,
And when you exude or share you
yeah,
to your wife, you feel better about it than she does.
yeah,
So remember, it's always going to be that. I mean, they can jump up and down and tell you how wonderful you are, but think about that injection of love, of injection of appreciation, injection of respect and understanding that comes from, yay, this is what Montez did for me in their hearts and mind and soul. And that gives you a better feeling than they'll get most of the time. And that's how
yeah,
gratitude is designed. That's why they say just be grateful. Find the gratefulness in things. And you're
yeah.
doing that. And you've said it about 5 times a day.
Well, she tells me she's like she give me a hug and she kissed my forehead and she tell me she appreciate me, man. And I don't come from that. I don't come from that at all. That's what in my world, that's soft. In my world, I'm a cupcake. In my
Mhm.
world, but see, it felt different.
But
And
see, you said the operative statement, my world. It's no longer your world. It's our world. It's
right.
our world. She took you and you did it yourself. You have to transport yourself from who you used to be into who you are. This is where we make mistakes as men all the time in relationships. We always, I'm tough, I'm rough, I'm a badass, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a soldier. We do that because
Yeah.
we think that's what women want. And my mother used to say, a man is the head of the family, but the woman is the neck. Whichever way she turns it, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
And so you have to give her that role. You have to grant that role to her. And you have to be even subservient sometimes to that role, not her lackey or her employee or the man she has her thumb on all the time. No, not that kind of subservience, but just to the whole function of being married, being in a relationship, having a family, having a responsibility. I think that is what most men screw up. Do what I say.
Yeah.
Don't talk this. Don't say that. Don't do this. Unless you have and you do, some men have nagging wives. Well, wives have nagging wives, and some
Yes.
men are nagging to their wives. So it's not just a
Mhm.
one-way street there. And when you need peace, they need to pound and impress in your mind that they have an issue and you're going to handle it whether you like it or not. That's very dangerous in a relationship for a person not to give another person a moment to breathe or to not deal with that issue in that particular moment and give them an opportunity to be in the right operator headspace for that issue. Most people don't give each other time. That's why everybody's waiting to say the next nasty thing to one another. Hey, you bitch, or you son of a gun, or your father and your mother and your cousin. Who are you? They wait their turn to speak because they don't have enough experience, not the capability, but enough experience of letting another person prepare themselves for what's to come. I had to tell somebody today in a conversation, said something really snappy to me. And very few people say snappy things to me and nasty things. But he said something like that.
Yeah.
I'm a lot of things on this earth, but I'm not that guy. I don't handle that. I just don't deal with it. So I say, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to reread what you wrote in our text and then ask yourself, how would you respond to that? And sometimes you have to do that with your mate. You have to talk to them in ways that you make them reevaluate what they're saying and its impact as if it were on them. Because everything we do in life, there's a word called reflexive. When something is reflexive, that means it hits you just as hard as it hits me.
Mhm.
And it affects me too. It comes back to me. And if it's reflexive in nature, reciprocal in nature, we're both experiencing it in its fullest form. If that's the case, we're going to oftentimes find resolve because we're both feeling the same things and we're trying to understand the same things. And it's not, cancellation talk. You ever have that where you say,
Installation.
yeah, cancellation talk, I call it. When I say, oh my God, my arm hurt. And
Oh
you,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
my
do that
arm
all
hurt too.
the
My arm hurt as well. And then you say, yeah, I'm not feeling well today. My stomach's been bothering me too all day.
Yeah.
You see, when people do that, they don't really care how you feel.
Okay.
They want to make it about them every
Yeah.
time. You do it, I watch you do it. Your
Yeah, I
wife
have.
does it, I watch her do it.
Yeah.
So if you pay attention that a person can have a hurt finger without you having a hurt arm or a leg or anything, and just
Mm.
appreciate the moment that they need some TLC, some tender loving care. They need some attention to that wound. They need, I did I say womb or wound? Okay, wound to that wound. They need attention. Hey, if you can't have levity, you can't have anything.
Yeah.
Gotta make a smile every now and then. And but they need, some of the true Montez. They need that guy, the one that kissed on the forehead just recently. You told me. You get it?
Mhm.
So if you don't take those opportunities in those moments and make it a part of your relationship always, then you're gonna find yourself constantly arguing and canceling each other out. In this cancel culture today, it's very easy to do. People dismiss important things and they regard them as passe or not even important in these times. When 10 years ago, 15 years ago, everybody in the world would be like, oh my God, or aghast to it. So people have conversations with each other now that are just full of information. They don't even understand its impact. They're just saying it because that's what's trending or that's what everybody's doing. And this is how people talk to one another. Over time with therapy, with norm therapy, we look at, instead of what's good and bad, Montes, we look at what's useful and useless.
Okay.
Most people in life, they carry a lot of useless crap on their shoulder and they call it baggage. And it does nothing for them but hurt them. And when they're communicating with you. So tell me, and us today, our audience, I want to address the audience more and I keep forgetting because I'm enthralled with our conversation most of the time.
Yeah.
Tell us, what kind of baggage do you have that you carry with you? What are the themes? We already know you're a soldier. That's some baggage. We already know it's my way or the highway. That's baggage. You're kind of letting it go a little bit. You see how it's weighing you down. So tell us, what are the baggage claim checks do you have on your shoulder?
I hold I, I hold myself at a unbelievably my expectations, they're not of myself, then they're I don't think Superman could do it. But if I try, I might. And that's how I think.
Expectations in what area? What area of life? Like what are your expectations?
Every area, every area. I went to prison at 15, 16 years old. I never got an opportunity to be great. And so these days, I'm not in jail. I don't go to prison or nothing, but everything that I do, man, I got to excel, man, because I ain't never had a chance. And
That
if I
baggage is
fail,
a heavy piece. That's a heavy piece of luggage there, though, right?
yeah,
High expectations. It's
mhm,
okay to have them. That's very normal. Some people can't live without a list right in front of them. They have to have a
mhm,
list. I call them list people. Okay, I did this, I bullet point that, I can get this done, and I'm gonna do great in that. And they find themselves oftentimes so frustrated and so tremendously overwhelmed by their own doing and their own hand that they don't really get anything done because that frustration stops them, or they get it done to their own detriment, meaning that they hurt so bad, so badly getting through that list every single day that they beat themselves up tremendously. When all you have to do is deploy one other aspect of that expectation. And you know what that's called?
what is it?
Standard. You create a standard for yourself. Remember, the happiness index, the top part of that index is like, wow, every once in a while achievement. The bottom part is, oh my God, I failed. But that sweet spot in the middle, if you can stay there, not coexisting with it, but becoming it, becoming that that middle ground where you don't have to ride the fence and go 50-50 with everything, but you have to recognize that there's a fence there and you want to stay within its boundary and make sure that you're not too far over to the left of that fence and too far over to the right of that fence. And if you are in any of those right or left places on that fence, it's okay too, especially if you have a really bad day. Like you just described a day that was worse than one of your other days you told us about a couple of sessions ago, and you responded tremendously well from that bad day. I put it around the corner and got home. You made it. You achieved that without having the police pull you over or causing you another set of problems. You made it back. And normally, when you find yourself in highly frustrating circumstances, you explode. But somehow or another today, you didn't do that. You didn't explode. You appreciated the fact that you made it and you wanted to help your wife move along and get everything ready and get those cabinets done. These are your words. That process by itself, most people on the planet on their own cannot do it. That's why they need parents and nurturers and good bosses at work and good colleagues in school and good colleagues at work that can show them through a demonstrative effort or demonstrating to them that, this is how life operates. And if you don't have the experience about life, you can always live, there's a term called, you can always live vicariously through them.
mhm.
You can take their experiences that you're watching unfold and say, I like the way they treat one another, this couple. The baby screaming, not that you have little babies, but the baby screaming, and he grabs the baby while they're out eating and holds the baby and calms the baby down while he gives his wife an opportunity to eat. You have to understand that's how life operates. it's tug of war. You pull, sometimes you win, and you get pulled, sometimes you go into the moat. It just
Yeah.
happens that way. It's a tug of war. I see that sign and I always like it, behind you, family and relax. I see
Mhm.
that. And that's a good reminder.
Mhm.
That's a good reminder about what you're trying to achieve. Living up to it is very hard. So tell us something now, because I think our audience wants to know. In your life, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? The absolute worst.
I don't even have to think. I think the worst thing that absolutely happened to me, the ever worst ever, um, I didn't I miss my mama
Tell us
all the
about
way out from the very beginning. I was born in 1983. That means by 80 87, 88, I was missing my mama, and by 92, 93, I was acting up,
it. Mhm.
thinking I was going to force the court's hand and put them to my mom, not knowing my mom lived in the projects from Robert Taylor Homes all the way to Ben Harbor,
Oh,
Michigan.
no, I know it very well. Keep going.
And she wasn't thinking about us. She was high. Crack cocaine was it was in its heyday in 93, 94.
Did you blame
Chicago was
yourself growing up? Did you think what
um
was wrong with you was the crack cocaine in her system that may have transferred to yours? Do you think that could have been something you held against yourself? Because most people do. I'm not trying to put
well,
words in your mouth, but we can skip over a lot of that to understand that it's transferable.
I don't she tried to sell me when I was a baby. Okay. That wasn't as worse as her not being around. I didn't care if you did drugs, or I just wanted me to be right there because I got the ticket. And as a little boy, I'm thinking like, man, long as mommy right here, everything okay. We can get through it.
I
You
need to
know,
ask you a hard question. When
let's
she
do it.
tried to sell you, probably no one's ever asked you this question. So try to think about it before you respond. When she had the notion that I'm gonna sell Montez, terrible notion to have. What was your self-worth as a child, especially a child who's about to be sold or potentially sold? What did you feel your worth was?
Well, it was earlier. It was earlier on, so early that I didn't remember. So I really had no
Knowledge.
knowledge of it. But when my dad, who's getting ready to turn 69 now, him and his wife, excuse me, her and my mother was really cool back in the day, and she told me this, and it explains so much. I never knew my real birthday till I was 28. I never seen a birth certificate. I never knew the things that people were already doing. I never knew. I had to figure it out sitting in segregation in prison on my own because I was a reader and a writer, and I knew
Mhm.
how to reach out. And so,
So you found out. You found out your age. You found out who you
yeah.
were. Excuse me. What did that revelation look like when you found out your moment of I'm 28 years old and I was born on this day? What did that walk us through that moment?
Well, in order to understand the feeling, you probably would have to understand what it feel like for people to tell you you're dead. Your social security number matches dead people and things like that, because that's what I had to go through. But once I finally got that identity, that once I confirmed my identity, who I was, see, at 28, at 23, I was well into the I was trying to figure out what it meant to be a man. I could remember writing poems and trying to define that. So if anybody ever asked me, I could tell you. And so by the time I was 28, I, I figure out this is my real birthday and this is who I am and this is where I really was born. And now I felt like I've arrived. I
In your
felt like,
quest for
okay,
knowledge, quest for
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah, I'm here now. Okay, so I know me. Do you know you?
Mhm.
And I felt like I could brag about that.
Well, that's something to brag about if you just knew it in that
I
moment.
just
If you
sound
just found
crazy
out
though.
about it. But
Yeah.
you got to realize, and this is what I try to teach any patient or anyone in norm therapy, especially our norm therapists, is when you're talking to somebody, it's not always about the conversation a linear conversation. You
Yes.
know, when you're having linear conversations with people, if I said that the cat jumped over the fence and got to the other side of the fence, then you can perceive in your mind in a linear fashion that it probably continued on walking.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if that cat jumps the fence and then it hits the fence and jumps back on my face and starts scratching me in the face? And it comes back on me. And it may not be the same thought process that you have, but it's a thought process all the same, having a cat in it.
Yeah.
You're a victim of your own thought process sometimes because there was a lot you didn't know about life. You just didn't know about your social security number, but everybody else knew. Imagine what frustration that caused and turmoil inside of you that must have caused. Everybody knew their birth date. Everyone knew their real social security number. Everyone around you can have conversations or can demonstrate to each other in an open forum or format that I know something and I'm a part of something and I understand something, and then you don't. How does that make you feel?
Like I just failed. And so now I'm either gonna, because I mean, like I told you earlier, I was an athlete. I don't want to lose. Michael Jordan didn't like to lose. So either I'm gonna tighten it up or I'm gonna get on. And so
Absolutely.
that's it.
But I'll ask you this. Um, you'll feel inadequate.
Mhm.
The operative statement here is feeling inadequate because what happens is when you're excluded from something or ostracized from something, even the smallest thing like a conversation. You're sitting on a train, like the L in Chicago, but you're sitting on
Mhm.
the L train or whatever, and someone sits next to you, and then someone sits next to them, and they start talking about something that you have a little bit of knowledge about. And then all of a sudden they say, yeah, and then I had them take out all the copper piping and put in PVC, all the copper piping. And then you're in your head going, why would you take out the copper? That's the best stuff in the world to put into a house. But they're taking it out, putting it in PVC. I'd rather keep the copper because that's, the standard. And you want to say something.
Mhm.
But in your head, do they have $1 million house that require PVC or $2 million home, or do they have a $30,000 home? What are we talking about here? And you're like not forgiving yourself in the moment by not participating.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're so unforgiving to ourselves that we don't participate in things, but we otherwise could have had some good exchange and say, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I tell you, I would have kept the copper. If you find any more copper, keep it. See if you
Mhm.
can refurbish all the joints and all of this, get you a good copper guy in there, and they'll make that some very useful pipes that will probably last you forever. You could have probably said that, just like you just made us understood how your car was putt-putting and you went into the store and you got all of this stuff that you needed, but you didn't have any money. And then people started out of nowhere saying you only needed $7. The solution was right there in front of you, the $7. But your pride, because I'm a man, first said, no, 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 I got it. It just hasn't paid me yet. You had to poke your chest out and say, I'm a man. I got mine. And that
Yeah.
wasn't necessary. Just wasn't necessary. It wasn't but that's who you are. You've been having to prove yourself every single day of your life to somebody. When, especially as they say in prison vernacular, when you're just a number, you're just ready for the next count.
Mhm.
You have to live above that expectation of every day. Imagine that's been your expectation of getting there to nothing, getting there to nothing, getting there to nothing every single day after day, minute after minute, lonely moment, catastrophe after catastrophe, and the light of good news every now and then. You had to live that expectation of nothingness because that's what prison is.
Mhm.
Prison is no good thing. And people have to kind of downplay prison, especially the guards, the police, the judicial system, because it's so every day. It's so darn repetitive. it numbs the soul, it numbs the people, it numbs the system into caring about these prisoners, even though they've done some terrible things and they're in prison for a reason. But it's inhumane to isolate the brain and not nurture it, or
Right.
isolate the heart and not nurture it. It's inhumane. That's the one thing or two things about prison, the inhumane treatment, the caging up and the locking up of the soul and the mind. There are better ways, and most countries have proven this, except for the United States. We have the largest population of inmates on the planet, bar none. And we have not yet learned because we've commercialized our prisons. We're making money off of it. These private contractors are coming in and they're relieving the responsibility of themselves to actually care for your rehabilitation and just become a holding place for you, almost like an animal, until which time your time is up. We can talk more about that because I really want people to understand what it's like being in prison. There's no like, I wake up every day and I'm happy and I can't wait to get this day started. That cannot be the norm there. It's impossible. Waking up every day in prison, what was the first thought you had?
Why?
Why what?
I mean, why me? Why this? I ain't never killed nobody. I ain't never committed a sex crime. I ain't never. I was poor. We talking about money crimes, and so I ain't never hurt no one, but yet I had to live around. Like I told you, I used to play chess with the guy that killed Jeffrey Dahmer. Those type of people,
Oh
not
yeah,
just, you know what I'm saying. Chicago was full of them, and so why is this my fate? I question my faith in God, question my faith in man and myself, to the point where now I'm reckless. I could very well die.
true. But you do know it's still a thing called, and then we're going to back up 1 second for that. There's a thing called crime and
Hmm.
punishment. Crime and punishment. Yeah, you did the crime. You may not be a rapist. You may not be a child molester. You may not be all of a murderer, but you were a criminal.
Yeah.
Now, in that context, you being a black man from Robert Taylor Holmes in Chicago, I know exactly who that man is. Exactly. What he grew up with, how he had to fight every day, the Blackstone Rangers, the disciples, the warlords. I know all about that, lived it well. So I know. But that understanding of where you came from is something you need to embrace and stop repelling. Because you repel it. You push it away. Or you change it into something that it isn't. Like I'm a soldier. No, that's survival. But there's a reason why Robert Taylor Homes exists. And then you look right across the way, across 51st Street, 47th, and all those different places down where the projects used to be, on the water, down in that area.
Dus,
You look right across
Dusabu.
in Hyde Park, and that's where
Hmm.
Oprah lives. But I mean, look, you can literally look across Hyde Park and say, Oprah Winfrey lives there, and her house is 30 million, or condo's $30 million or something. And you can see the projects. You used to be able to see the projects in all that area, 55th and Hyde Park in that area. You used to be able to see it. And you live in this prison of downtroddenness. And there's only 1 mile, what do they call it, the $1 million mile in Chicago? You live
Yeah.
there. They call it that. Well, Barack Obama and Oprah lives in that area, right there where the projects used to be. And there's an understanding how that happened. And I touched on it before, because everybody thinks black people are lazy. There's the stereotype is they're lazy, they're shiftless, they're criminals. When all you have on every corner in the hood, that's why they took the neighbor out of the word neighborhood. They just call it the hood. When you take out all of its businesses, all of the insurance companies used to be black owned.
Hmm.
Mainstream America wanted that business, wanted those dollars. Most of the music trends since the 1950s or before were based on black music. Most of the successes were owned of black people, from movie since its inception to radio to music were owned by white people. They just were. That's the way they did it. And so everything black people ever tried to own was taken from them. No more insurance companies, no more banks, no more lending to the community, no more infrastructural upgrades. You can drive in a nice neighborhood right now, anywhere in America, not just Chicago. Anywhere in America, you can drive in a nice neighborhood and you got roads, you got yellow lines, you got, paved this, and you got utility and all that, and clean and openness. And you go to any hood in America, be they white hood, a black hood, Hispanic hood, and they don't have those infrastructural accoutrements or they don't have that support in their communities. Why? Because poverty is necessary in the world, not just the United States, in order to keep the have-nots with nothing so the haves can have everything. That's the whole idea. That's why you don't get a pay raise, but your company makes $1 billion quarter. They'll do $1 billion in a quarter, give all that money to their investors, give all that money into their supporters of their organization and their leaders and owners. And then you, the employee, get minimum wage plus a few dollars, or maybe you get a good salary or a good whatever. But it's nowhere near what corporate America is getting. Nowhere near it. And it used to be that the CEO pay was like 2 or 3 times that of an employee. Now it's the average of 450 times the salary of an employee. CEO pay averages 450 times that of the employee. So what do you take home? Not enough, not a living wage. You don't take home, no matter if you're white or black, or it doesn't matter your color or your culture or where you came from, what language you speak. You don't take home enough to live on these days. This is the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk more about that. So that's why the hood is the hood, because there's no resources. That's why you're a criminal, because you had to survive. And the things you needed to do to survive were crime-ridden. They were criminal in its truest form, because everything's been codified to be criminal for anyone trying to get out of the hood. So that's what's going on. It's very difficult to get out of the hood, but it takes more than just heart and bravery, but it takes a mindset, a certain mindset, not of success or failure, but of, I got to get the hell out of here, and by any means necessary.
Yeah.
But you try to create the means necessary to be something constructive, but that doesn't always happen. You're not sitting in the hood right now. Look at your house. You're not sitting in the hood, are you?
I live in Whitehall, Columbus, Ohio. It's not, no, because Livingston, no, it's not. It's we got grass. We got grass in the we never had grass.
Yeah,
so,
I know. And that, look at you. We're being jovial about tragedy because we have to numb ourselves because we know it exists. And that laughter works to get us through that moment of understanding and that crystallization in our brain. Like, it's still crap to not have any grass.
Yeah.
You can go in the hood, the minute you see that there's no lawnmower cut oriented grass for miles, you're in the hood. Because no one takes care of it. They'll walk over it, make dirt mounds out of it, all of the side and the curbs, and the grass is nothing but dirt or it's concrete. That's how you know you're in the hood most of the time. Now, let's not belabor that. Let's ask you another question.
Let's do it.
In 5 years from today, where do you want to live with your family?
Where do I want to live?
Yeah, with your family.
With my family.
Yeah.
I want to live in the Red River Gorge down in Kentucky on top of a mountain, the Smoky Mountains, or the foothills of the Appalachian.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. A guy from Chicago, from the hood, Appalachian. Okay, let's say that I don't understand what that looks like. And I'm probably our audience wants to know, what does that look like? How functional is that to be there with your family?
How functional?
Yeah, how is it like a great place to live, a wonderful family environment?
I
malls
mean,
and
I'm country already anyway, so it's in the mountains, literally. That's where I find my freedom at. The
would your
best
family
freedom is
find happiness there? Would your wife say, "Yeah, let's go to the middle of nowhere in the mountains and just hang out"? Would she
long
think
as
that's okay?
long as it's somewhere to fish.
Okay. No, and it's okay. Maybe you go like that's a very tough one.
Yeah,
Not that Kentucky is tough, but
yeah,
you got some rugged terrain in Kentucky as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
But but just to think what you're having to ask your wife. Uproot, maybe she's got 5 years tenure in what she's doing now. She's
Mhm,
killing it. She's one of the top dogs in what you're gonna ask her, uproot your life, come with me, we're gonna go fishing for the rest of our lives.
mhm.
That's a lot to ask, isn't it?
It is definitely, yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, can I give
But
you a
we,
different way to look at that goal in 5 years? And I just did that on purpose to see that.
yeah,
So how about, well, we've done well. I've been promoted several times in my job. Matter of fact, I took a new job. I finished my degree because I've been in night school. I'm talking about you.
yeah,
And I'm catching up with my wife and her expectation of self and in her educational prowess and journey. I'm catching up with her. And then all of a sudden, you guys are better educated, better communicators, much more of a team. And 5 years from now, learning who you are today and extrapolating or making that vision forward to become a part of the normal part of you and your path.
mhm,
That's a good place to end up in 5 years with the ability to not maybe uproot and move, but why not buy a cabin in Kentucky and have one next to the lake or
mhm,
the stream and make that a goal without having to uproot your family and just extend your expectation of life to a cabin in addition to the home that you have in and what's that place called in Columbus? Beckley? Was it Beckley?
that's Bexley. Yeah,
Bexley, yeah. So
it's a rich
maybe you
place.
guys move to Bexley to one of those high ceiling places with
Yeah,
the glass front door and the beautiful,
yeah.
5,000 square feet and that kind of thing.
You
Maybe
know
you
Bex?
have, oh, of course I know Bexley. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I've been many places, but all I'm saying, but all of a sudden, maybe you moved up in life, your station in life is better because we're all trying to progress. But then instead of uprooting your family, like most people say, well, I've always wanted to live in Fiji and just escape. Well, maybe your kids or your wife, they're not ready to escape. They're like, I'm digging what we've been doing. But when you uproot them, now you have to create a whole new dynamic. But if you expand your vision in life, like you expanded yourself in prison. You said, when I get out, I'm not going back in. Have you been in since the last time you said that?
Been to prison? No.
Yeah, exactly. Something told you that level of recidivism you had in your life was just not working.
Yeah.
And you had to make some changes.
Yeah.
That's why you're here now. You can
Yeah.
screw up tomorrow. Maybe you have a bad day and you do put on the freeway and the cops do come and get you. And all you do is say, officer, what? And he go, get out the car. I'm gonna beat on you. I just watched a whole bunch of those videos. So and it's tragic that all you
Yeah.
have to be, I've been stopped by the police in my own life. I've been stopped by while I was in special forces. I remember I was down at and I was in some training school and driving. I got to a stop sign, went through, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, went through it. The cop comes up behind me. He said, you know what you did wrong? I said, I didn't do anything wrong. And he took that as being abrasive, but I
Mhm.
didn't do anything wrong. But let's say I did. Let's say I just didn't completely stop. Did it warrant what happened next? And then, back then I had roll down windows. There was no
Yeah.
button to push.
Yeah.
Rolled down my window. And he was saying something to me. And I was like, I'm trying to hear him. And he just took his stick and yanked my window down, broke it. And I'm still in my seatbelt. And they're grabbing me out of the car. Two policemen are yanking me out of the car. And I'm armed. I'm always armed. And, I'm trying to tell them I got a weapon, da 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 da. And they threw me on the ground. Then I've not been asked one question. I have not heard them say anything audible yet. Yet I'm being beaten down on the ground, broken car window, the whole 9 yards. And I call it driving while black. A lot of cops in the country, not all of them, because there's some pretty good policemen out there.
Yeah.
But if they see that you're black, they automatically take a different posture with you.
Yeah.
Or a different kind of approach, male or female. I've seen kids, brutalized by the police. I mean, 13, 14-year-old boys and girls stomped by the police for just talking back, being insolent like a child does. You can't do that to me. My mommy and daddy said, and then the cops beat you in the face with a billy club. I've seen that too. You grew up in Chicago. My first drive-by shooting that I ever saw in my life, what a cop shooting at us.
Yeah.
They would drive by and see us and start shooting back in the day. So, not all cops are this way, but you do hear about the bad stuff much more than you hear about the good stuff. You just do. So one bad act will overshadow 100 good acts easily. But every bad thing you say, there's a law to this, a universal law. For every bad things you say or every bad thing you think, it takes 5 good things to cancel it out.
Yeah.
So if you're reading your circumstance in a negative way, you're gonna have for 10 minutes, you're gonna have to read your circumstances for an hour in a better way to cancel that negativity out. So here's a technique I want you to use that I think you're getting to. We got to get to some other issues in your life, Montez. And we have to get to know one another. This exchange of establishing rapport, exchange of information now is crucial to our existence in our therapy.
Okay.
But we need to go outside of those parameters here shortly. We're going to use some other techniques with you that I've developed. And we're going to talk about some themes that I've written papers on. I'm going to have a list of papers and their locations in the chat the next time the next video that we do, or maybe even this one if some of my support people can put it in there. But one of them is about love. Another one about confrontation versus argument, and what exists in a confrontation and what actually exists in an argument, and why the argument always fails and the confrontation always succeeds. Well, most of the time succeed, because some people don't know when they're being confronted. They think it's an argument as well, because they're not accustomed to hear those words. You're using a plurality statement whenever you do anything with your wife now, like we and us and ours and let's, those hortatory commands that you use in order to make it about everything other than just Montez. How's that working out for you?
I can't tell you that I've always been selfless, man, to the point where I've done big time that I shouldn't have done because of my loyalty and me not. I feel like long as you straight, I know I got it, and I've been like that with everyone. But in terms of my relationship, I'm still like that. It gets rough, and it don't get rough because she won't accept. It gets rough because I won't accept when she do the same thing. You see what I'm saying? Because I got this thing in my mind, this chip on my shoulder. I gotta, if somebody gotta die, let it be me. If somebody gotta be home,
I understand that. Let's stay on point. I want you to go back to this point. How is it working that now you're trying to make everybody around you inclusive and a part of everything that we do as a household instead of just what Montez does, or without Montez judging everybody? Because that's what you're doing. You're judging yourself and you're judging them when you take any other route. When it comes about
it hasn't been in this home with that inclusive. It's not been an issue. We all we got, and so we take to it, and if the boys can't take to it, they're still growing and developing, and so it's our place to teach them, nurture. You know what I'm saying? But it's as far as that goes, it's fine. It's fine. Like there's not, there's never a selfish there's only selfish situations in our home when the discontent and the arguing and things of that nature happen. But when
That's the
we're at
whole
our
point I'm
best,
trying to make.
yeah,
That's the whole point. I want you to get this. Whenever
yeah,
you say the word I or
yes,
me or
yes,
mine, or this is what I think and what I believe, when you do that,
hmm,
you've just told everyone else that you don't care about what they think. It's okay to have your own opinion and your own thought process. That's okay. But you're not by yourself. You're not living alone. You're living with other
okay,
people. So if you're not thinking about what we need to do and how we do it, and it doesn't happen overnight, brother, you're going to have rough days. And I want you to
yeah,
get that point at the end of this conversation by saying that when you have these rough days, just go to the plural part of who you are. Start thinking about us. Start thinking about what's important, we, and how we need. Like if somebody upsets me for whatever reason, I shut down with them, but not because I'm weak and can't deal with them. I just don't deal with them until they change their attitude and we can start communicating again. I won't go down that rabbit hole of, well, you did this and you did that and you said this and you said that. I don't do that. I will hang up or I will just walk away. I will do something other than sit through it. That's me. I've always been this way. I won't tolerate it. And what you have to learn, I think, Montez, and we'll take this into the next session as well. But what you really have to learn is that what you're about to do and what you're actually trying to do isn't easy. If it were easy, you wouldn't be sitting here. It'd already be done. You
yeah,
wouldn't have to have this conversation if it were
yeah,
easy, but it isn't. Unless you were conditioned and born into that kind of communication, unless you had parents that worked together to nurture you and teach you and through demonstrative efforts and showing you how to be as a man, as a purposeful human being, you don't have that to fall back on. You don't have to laud over and say, that's how I was brought up. A lot of people do have it, and they still screw up in life because they've been created within these bubbles now where they have not only expectation, but privilege. You know,
hmm,
black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Whatever the culture or the race is, it doesn't matter. That's indicative of everyone these days. Most people only
yeah,
care about themselves. That's why their marriage and their boyfriend and girlfriends and their school and everything is screwing up because they don't care about themselves. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And they don't even think it's selfish. It's not selfish to them. It's normal because that's how they were brought up in that bubble. They're brought
right.
up to think that stuff is more important than people. But we'll talk more about that too over time. I got 2 minutes left. Do you have anything to tell us before I close us out?
I know, man. Every day is a eye opener for me. You say things that I do think about, like poverty is necessary. I was a criminal justice major. I know crime and punishment. I know when the police started and what city they started in. You see what I'm saying? So I appreciate the things that you tell me that resonates in my mind, man. So
I started out AJ too. They used to call it AJ way back in the day.
yeah,
Administration justice used to be called. I started out in that too and ended up in business. But I'll say this to you because it's important. You have a good heart. And if you start there with anything you do in life, the rest you can figure out if you find the knowledge and you learn how to use your heart the right way and not just the soldier way, unless you are a soldier, unless you are a real soldier and you
you're gonna make
are
me go be
now
a
a so,
soldier.
but you're now a soldier for your family. And that's okay to
Yeah,
say. It's okay to brave through that as a soldier. And I'm with you.
yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and say what I need to say without any further ado, but we have about a minute left. So if you've enjoyed and got something out of today's session, please show us some love by sharing this video, subscribing to our channel, and liking it. But please write something in the post-production of this video because that's when it's going to mostly stick. And tell your friends and family about it. We need that traction. Our next norm therapy session will be on Sunday, January 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Bobby, of course. This is Monte's wife. Please go to GOARO.org and or normtherapy.com and explore opportunities and seek help for yourself and someone in need of your services. Thank you for joining us. And I wish all of you a happy understanding in life and get
You
in that
too.
happiness index, okay?
Yes,
Montes,
sir.
see you
Bye bye, man.
next week. Have a good week about us, okay?
I will. You too, man.
All right, brother.